Todd Pappy, game director, God of War Ascension. What you're about to see is a making of video that we've been shooting over about 2+ years. It gives you a good idea of the inception of an idea all the way through to the final product. Keep in mind that this is a work in progress. Enjoy.
The biggest problem with multiplayer for us is just technology. We've never done multiplayer before.
In the last year, it felt like another 3 years.
God of War is historically a single-player game, and there's a lot of code that works until you put it in an online environment, and then it falls apart. What I'm doing is basically going through a lot of the code and making sure that we consider what happens when a second person runs the lever code and what happens when a third person pulls the lever. Is everyone seeing the same thing at the same time?
At this moment, I'm feeling hopeful. We aren't quite there yet. There are 2 players on 2 different machines, and one is hitting the other with a sword. So that motion of the sword has to connect on the attacker's machine, and then the result of that collision needs to be sent to the defender's machine. And on defender's machine, we need to decide, was that move blocked or parried or countered? And then the response has to go back to the attacker's machine. All of that has somehow to happen in such a way that both of these players think that it is seamless and there is no lag, and it's all just free-flowing combat.
People would press block and they'd actually get the block guard up with the sword, and then they'd be told, you got hit. And they're like, Glenn?
The actual choice of where these decisions are being made, attackers' machines, defenders' machines, that choice is probably the hardest problem of them all.
We do what we call pre-hit. So we actually detect that in the future we're about to hit somebody, and we actually kind of, if you can see like an arc here. So we actually can look ahead maybe 100, 200 milliseconds. And so I'm actually saying, I hit you here, and that actually gets sent over the network. The other guy receives it before my sword's even touched him. And if we time it right, he tends to reply, in the common case, to us before the sword's even touched him on our machine. So we actually have all the lag hidden by committing to the hit early.
One of the big things that felt wrong for so long with the combat was the technical networking side of it, which I think we've finally broken the back of now, haven't we?
We're getting over a hump. It does feel like that.
Fixing the lag.
So we're able to hide about 100 milliseconds, 150 milliseconds of latency. I consider lag to be pretty much a sole problem at this point.
One of the big themes that came out of last week's Friday playtest was that the quality of the experience has a lot to do with the caliber of the people you're playing against.
I focus on matchmaking. Without matchmaking, you won't be able to find your peers. You won't be able to find other players to play. So we basically pair up players so that they can have a better time. The more players we have, the quality of the matchmaking improves. You always have to consider, should we let people play, or should we have a better quality of matchmaking? I'm hoping to have a better matchmaking experience because we have developed everything in the house. We are doing something completely different. We are deploying the code ourselves, and we are managing all aspects of it. So there's no one to call when something happens except ourselves.
Now we're going to actually play sheeted 60. That was started like inefficient, running at 45. And the intention of the playtest is to get the combat feel at 60.
We're playing the game every week. We're making sure that everyone gets a controller in their hands and they start bashing each other with swords and hammers, and it's a lot of fun.
The fact that programmers are playing it is a very positive step. Programmers want to write code, and some don't want to play the game they're making, and that's okay. But when you're making a multiplayer game, it's really important that you iterate and you see the changes you make playtest to playtest.
A few weeks ago we were having issues getting people coming and playing because I think the combat was in a bit of a rough spot. We knocked off a huge number of bugs, and suddenly everyone was just more engaged with the game.
We were like floundering, and now we've iterated our way into a good place. So I feel happy about where we've been, and I feel excited about where we're going to end up.
PlayStation